Hello and welcome to Gravitas Wins Conversations. If I have to describe today's guest, he's one with a smiling face, humble manners, but inspiring soul. He has an inspiring story to say, and I hope you will enjoy hearing that as much as I do. Hello, Sukhwinder. Welcome to the conversation.
Thanks, Joseph. It's always pleasure to be with you, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Tell me about the time where you interned as a young boy, as a young kid, in your cousin's or uncle's shop, and you got the first exposure to business. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. It was my cousin's shop actually. He used to put up a stall for Deepavali crackers, and my dad suggested me that I should join him and help him in assisting during those peak hours. And I used to go by cycle to his shop, and only during Diwali celebrations. And I used to manage that cracker shop, and those small things helped me build that confidence, and I used to handle money actually, so that has helped me a lot.
So, in what form did it help? Is it only because you were good with money, or in any other fashion that internship helped you in the later times?
I think I was handling the customers. They were expecting the right stuff what they wanted, and obviously they wanted to negotiate also. That negotiation part was also there, and then closing the complete transaction. It was a trading part, but I learned things there.
Hmm. Was it only 1 year you did it, or you did it subsequent every Diwali later on as well?
I did it for 4 to 5 years, and
Hmm.
fortunately, the last year he decided not to put up the stall, and I and my brother decided that we'll put up this time. And we asked him that we want to put it this time, so and he was very happy to help us around, and we did it that year. It was a big learning. We bought the crackers, everything, all the stuff we did, and I think we closed that complete cycle of transaction from buying the crackers and to getting the money from the end customer. So that obviously sparked things in us.
So, so even before you started your manufacturing plant,
Yeah.
you had live experience of running a business.
Yes.
Okay, good. Uh, what's the story behind you have named your company Priority Solutions? What does it mean?
See, actually, every customer wanted us to keep them on the top priority, and they
Hmm.
expected the best solutions, and
Hmm.
we ended up naming it Priority Solutions, and the tagline is "Your priority, our solutions."
Okay, your
Yeah,
priority, our solutions.
yeah.
Now, having named it Sukhwinder as Priority Solutions, how do you balance between every customer is going to ask, I want to be the priority, number one priority for you.
Yes.
So, how do you balance it out?
See, this I have kept very close to my heart that we must be known for our spontaneous response. We should be the
Hmm.
fastest. We knew that we are small, but I wanted to
Mm.
be the sharpest. And even today, I claim that in around this region, no one can do things faster than us. And we are proud of our team on this.
So, working backwards from that, so you have named the company as Priority Solutions, you have kept that as your core mantra that we
Yeah.
have to be the fastest.
Yes.
Working backwards from that, how have you arranged your company? How have you trained your employees? And what are your processes to meet that particular mantra?
See, in the initial days, we used to obviously drive things from start to end by our own, and we had that passion, we had the
Hmm.
vision, and we were clear on the basic things. We knew the purpose for which this customer is with us, and
Mm.
giving that holistic approach rather than only focusing on the specific need, what he is expecting out of us or what he has defined. We used to try to cater to the undefined things also, and
Mm.
that I think that has brought the change, and that has brought us here 16 years down the line now.
16 years.
Yes.
Fantastic. So, what you are saying is not only the stated requirements of the customer you understand,
Yeah.
but you also try to understand why the customer wants that particular product, and then
Yes.
try to understand the undefined requirements, and then you try to meet that. Is that what you are
Yes.
saying?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, so let's go back to the early days. So you set up the company. I think you set up the company by yourself, not your brother joined later, right?
Exactly.
Okay. How was the early days? You set up the company, you are from a technical background,
Yeah.
even though you had some bit of understanding about business because of your internship. Uh, how did you learn marketing, sales, whatever other aspects of running a business? How did you do it?
See, I basically the core, the crux was I was on the other side in my last assignment with Aisha Volvo. I was
Mm-hmm.
into supplier audits and I was into vendor development. And when I
Mm,
traveled length and breadth of India, what I identified was that companies were not investing more into research and development. They were making good business, but they were not fast enough for the new developments, and which was, I think, critical for their future.
mm,
And I took up this thing because I was from tooling background, I was technical, and fortunately I was there into that strategic position where I was handling the negotiation part, and I was basically on the other side of the table. And I knew what the pain areas were there for the OEM and for the bigger companies. They wanted faster developments. And when I started this company, I knew the crux, what I have to hit. I knew where the bullseye is. So I
mm,
targeted those companies which were doing good into production or large volumes, but they wanted to grow bigger. And I extended my expertise to a lot of companies around in the Badi area. And I was fortunate enough to have some very good companies, and which were basically they were supplying complete product FMCG products to Philips, Murphy Richards, then Havells, Bajaj, and you name it, and we have the company in our portfolio in our kitty ever ready. So we primarily started designing those assembly lines for them, and that way we
okay.
started. We were addressing their pain area. So
Mm.
marketing was not much uh, in my head, and I just targeted their pain area, and from there on we moved. But these things we learned uh, while rolling, and it it is something which we have learned from the toughest teacher, and that is market. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, how long you were working before you started the company?
I worked for some 7 years.
7 years. So
Yeah.
in that 7 years, you traveled all over India. You have met the highest of the customers, the potential customers, so to speak,
Yeah.
for your future business. So you understood their pain points. You knew
Yes.
this is where, if I'm able to solve this particular problem, then I will have a business, successful business. And then you were able to do that.
Exactly.
Okay. So you started your company. What was your first sale? Do you remember that?
Exactly. It is very close to my heart. Those were actually a dia 6 into 45 long double pins, and 100 was the quantity, and
Uh,
1200 was the total value of the bill. And I still remember that first order.
uh, what was the bill amount you said?
Bill amount was 1200 rupees only.
Very good, very good. So from that sale, 1200 sale,
Yes.
how did you expand? What are the products that you sell now? I mean, you sold the pins as the first one.
Yes.
So how did you expand? What has been your 16 years of growth journey?
It's been immense. Almighty has been very fortunate, very we are blessed basically, and we have been fortunate enough to have that stability in our business, and to give you a gauge of this, we have already done a single order of 1 cr, and
Mm.
we are doing good, and we have crossed 5 cr last year, and I'm seeing huge potential now, and we are ready to go full throttle now. We have the right mix of team and setup.
Sukhwinder,
Yeah.
16 years back, your first sale was 1,200, you said, right?
Yes,
1,200 rupees.
exactly.
Today you have one order which is worth 1 crore.
Yeah.
What would be, or what was the mantra that drove from the 1200 to 1 crore?
To keep going. What may come.
Okay.
To keep going. Uh, we have never ever uh, been unfaithful to ourselves. We have always uh, identified the areas, the weakness where we need to improve, and we have worked on those things. We have been sincere to ourselves.
Sukhwinder, whenever I have talked to you,
Yeah.
this is one thing that you have always repeated: be sincere to yourself,
Yes.
be faithful to yourself. What does it mean? What does it mean to you, being faithful to yourself or being sincere to yourself? What does it mean to you?
See, it means life to me. It starts with knowing and accepting yourself,
Hmm.
being faithful and factual of the truth about yourself, and never ever excuse yourself.
Mm.
I have
Can
seen,
you gi-
yeah, please.
yeah, yeah, go ahead. Can you give me an example of never excuse yourself in your own life, how you have done that?
See, we all humans have a tendency to put the blame on situations or other
Hmm.
people rather than
Hmm.
accepting the failure what we have already incurred. So
Hmm.
try to own things, start owning things. And during my 16 years of entrepreneurship journey, I have seen people failing, a lot of people failing,
Hmm.
and majority of the people had this thing in common that they weren't faithful and uh, to their own self.
Okay. So, say for example, you got a setback. I don't know whether you can share any of the setback that you had. Say for example, you had a setback. What do you do after that?
See, there is no shame in sharing the setbacks. We had more setbacks than successes, and that only has taught us. And failure is very important in life. We must accept
Hmm.
that failure with grace. We have always accepted it. We have analyzed the reasons behind it wherever we have failed. There are two type of things which actually work in this world. One are those things, those areas where you can play some role, and there are
Hmm.
other things which are not in our hands. Rather
Hmm.
than cursing those things which are not in our hand, we should just try to focus on things which are in our hands. Basically, we should try to improve ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in this 16 years, how have you improved yourself from that first sale?
It's been a long journey, and it won't be able to sum up in a small conversation. But obviously, we are being more patient. We have tried
Mm.
to inculcate this very habit of being truthful to ourselves and to the teams also, and to we have tried to bring this to the culture of the team, and we are proud that our teams are also very much truthful, and we bring those failures to the table, so that we should not all learn from our own mistakes, rather we should learn from mistakes what someone else has also made.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing is for leaders to keep themselves accountable.
Yeah.
It is very difficult to transfer that to the team, that particular attitude of holding oneself accountable and responsible and being faithful to oneself. How did you build that within your team?
So it's very simple. I think what we practice,
Hmm.
only that they can take away. Matlab, preach what you practice. Because
Hmm.
if I start preaching something else and I'm practicing something else, so they won't take it that way. So it has to be in my blood, then only they will accept it. If I am accepting my own mistakes on the table, obviously they will also come up with theirs, and we have to be truthful to ourselves and to teams, then only it is reciprocal. It will
Hmm.
only come back once we start giving it.
Hmm. So, what you are saying is, as a leader, when
Yeah.
you show that you are vulnerable and you are uh, open to accepting your own mistakes, you are saying the team also will reciprocate that particular attitude.
Exactly.
Hmm. So, probably this is why You built the India's first bulletproof material lab, testing lab for Ministry of Home Affairs.
Yeah.
Uh, when did that happen? How did that happen?
It happened after the Mumbai attacks when
Mm.
Hemant Karkare and a few others were killed by those attackers from Pakistan. And our governments decided that whatever bulletproof material we are buying, we must test it and validate it before using it. And the Commonwealth Games were on our head. It was in 2009. MHA decided and gave this assignment to Central Forensic Science Laboratory, Chandigarh, and they approached DRDO lab TBRL in Ramgarh. And fortunately, we were working on few things with them, and they knew that we are a aggressive team and we may push those uh, areas and develop this equipment. And we were referred to CFSL Chandigarh. It was something big for us, and because the customer itself didn't knew what they wanted, but they had a
Mm.
very vague idea. And we had few discussions, and then we decided that we must build this because it is a matter of national importance. And we are proud of it. We did it well, and we have already evolved around it, and we have developed various other newer things on the same platform.
So obviously, you should be proud of it because two things, right? It has proved to you the name that you gave to yourself, priority solutions, and you said we will keep that customer as a priority, and you have evolved into that. And second, you are serving the nation by
Yes.
doing this. So absolutely, you should be proud of yourself in that particular thing. Uh, what are the other anything that you can share? What are the other uh, materials or businesses that you've done with respect to the defense or uh, national interest?
We have there are many things, but obviously I don't want to share so many things, but we
Mm.
can obviously share. We have worked on the basic optical HUD which CSIO has developed, and for Tejas light combat aircraft and all the LED lighting fixtures, and we were part of the team. And we are proud of that also because that was the first indigenous aircraft, and we had contributed in the basic HUD assembly, and then the electronic box, what we call the black box. So these are few things which we have worked on, and there are other things which I uh, I want to keep close to my heart now because there are few things which I cannot disclose.
Okay, wonderful. I completely understand that. Sukhinder, 16 years, you come a long way. But how has COVID affected your industry and especially your business in particular?
COVID actually, it has definitely affected the industry hard. Market is still not back to normal,
Mm.
to the pre-COVID levels, and inflation and less demand have shut many units across industry. But I think we have been fortunate enough, being fragile and fast to change. We built UV sanitizer chambers and
Mm.
touchless mist sanitizers. Then we developed the sanitizing tunnel, the first one, the only DRDO approved tunnel we had developed, and that we did in April 2020, the very next month of the lockdown. And we are very fast and very adaptive, so we could bounce back early.
One of couple of words I have heard it repeatedly in this particular conversation, Sukhinder. One is we were fortunate enough that you seem to give a lot of credit to luck as a matter of fact. But the other word that I heard quite a lot is we were fast enough. How do you balance that fast and fortunate?
See, being lucky is something that we should be prepared for the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Opportunities knock at doors. We should be prepared
Mm.
to grab them, and we have always tried to prepare ourselves for the future. And we do obviously strategic thinking on our 10 years down the line, how markets will be, and all those things.
Mm.
So That was there. And being fortunate, we always try to be very optimistic and positive of our capabilities of the team and everything around. I always
Okay.
try to be very optimistic on this.
Mm. You dedicate half a day for thinking about your business.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how did you come to that particular idea? How have you practiced it? And what have you gained by doing that?
See, pre-COVID, I was basically into business, and
Mhm.
this is what I have learned out of COVID only. Because once it started, and we all were free to do something new, and it's basically positive self-talk to
Okay.
cultivate the right mindset and planning for the future and strategy thinking to ideate a strategy to help company reach its objectives. So, and we must be capable of analyzing variety of inputs like market conditions, emerging business trends, and our internal resource allocation, how we can allocate things and build our newer future things. So that is the area where I keep on working, and because we should have the ability to communicate complex ideas to
Mhm.
the internal and external stakeholders. We have to
Mhm.
collaborate with them. We have to engage them. We have to
Mm.
bring them on board and building consensus and ensuring that everyone is aligned towards the shared goals. So this is something I keep on working when I dedicated in the second half of my day, some 2 to 3 hours I'm planning each day. This way I'm
So you practice this every day.
yes.
2 hours dedicated towards thinking about future, how I can communicate the values that I stand for, the opportunities that you see. So you dedicate about 2 hours every day for this.
Yes, about planning and then implementing those solutions also, because
Mm.
without implementation, it won't bring any change. So I've started this and I'm getting very good results, and I'm disengaging myself from those basic activities now and
Mm.
sparing time out of this.
So what do you mean by I'm disengaging myself from the basic activities? What do you mean by that?
I'm a big fan of Pareto principle of 80/20,
Mm.
and I
Mm.
apply it in each and every aspect of my life. So what I try to do is I have identified those activities where I'm involved for 80% of the time, and it is the value which is coming out is about 20%. So I have tried to delegate those things to others and disengage from those activities and spare more time for myself, for the company, so that I can do the strategic thinking and planning, and then going ahead with the action plan.
Okay. If any of the CEO wants to inculcate this kind of a practice for themselves, and then probably to the executives in their team, how should they start doing it? How should they start thinking about it? Where should they start?
See, I think they should start by disengaging themselves first, because what I feel is a very bad habit among the entrepreneurs. I too am a entrepreneur, that we engage ourselves too much. We attach ourselves too much with the company, with the startup. But
Mm.
with time passage, once you have the right team, we should identify those areas where people can be engaged, where people can be deputed. And obviously, they'll make some mistakes. That perfection syndrome, we have to leave,
Mm.
because if
Mm.
we keep on focusing on that perfection thing, it won't happen. Things will go wrong, and that's the cost we are paying to build those teams and systems.
Very good point. Okay. Uh, who are the leaders you admire and why? What qualities you find in great leaders?
See, leaders who give birth to future leaders are those whom I admire, and we must build the second line of for the future. And courageous, honest, forward looking, and those having the ability to inspire teams are the ones whom I inspire. and I usually don't look above on the Google for those leaders. I look around myself, I look
Mm.
around my area, my vicinity, those people whom I physically know, so that I can extract the learnings, I can converse with them, and I can learn from them. And that's those are the leaders, the real leaders for me.
Sukhwinder, that's the reason why I'm talking to you. That we should all look around
Yes.
among ourselves, and there are plenty of leaders and people who can inspire us, among the crowd that we are in,
Yeah,
and we should learn from them. And it is easy to learn from them
exactly.
because you know them. You can
And
go visit them.
you can resonate with them.
Absolutely.
We should not look for superhumans.
Ah, hmm.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing that, Sukhwinder. What are the books or movies that shifted your thinking quite a lot?
See, I didn't had much habit of reading too many books, but I want to mention two books here. One is Thinking Big and The Magic of Thinking Big by David, and Rich Dad Poor Dad, obviously my all-time favorite. And they have shifted the mindset which was required.
Okay. One of the habits that you talked about is dedicated time every day, disengaging yourself from the team and thinking about the future, and also laying out the action plan for meeting that particular future. What are the other habits that you have to do your best work?
See, one thing is I get up very early
Hmm.
and I consciously cultivate optimism as a habit. And it has changed the way I look around situations now. And I have realized that the way I think, I act, I react, and I solve problems are completely different now. You have to be very optimistic for for having the right mindset to handle those newer challenges and situations. We should look at all the problems as opportunities. So that is there.
Yeah, that's a very valid point, Sukhwinder. But when you see so many troubles around yourself, I'm not even talking about world problems, I'm talking about, say, for example, today, there is COVID, there is a lot of layoffs that are happening, economy is not so good. Among all of this, how do you develop optimism?
See, in that very context, if I say if there is COVID and the supply chains are disrupted now, so if I take my own case, if there is a big order from defense, companies which are settled abroad, and if they are foreign companies, and it won't be possible for them to deliver things faster, so I can pitch in those areas, those territories. We have already started working very aggressively for developing most of the equipments related to the ballistic industry, and so this way you can work on the right areas, work on things which you can handle. I think I've shared earlier also. We should not look for excuses. Economy is not working, inflation is very high, there is no demand. This all is there, and we can't change it.
Hmm.
Let's be the change ourselves.
Okay. Okay. So you always try to split that problem into two categories, as you
Yes.
rightly said. One is which I can't have any control, so don't bother about it. Wherever I can have some control, work fast
And
on
there
priority.
and there are only 20% of the things which are in our control, so obviously work on those
Mm.
and leave those 80% to the almighty.
Okay. So everywhere that 80/20, you kind of
Yes,
bring that in.
yes, yes, everywhere.
Okay. That's a good one, and I'm going to try to follow that, Sukhwinder. Sukhwinder, you have been part of Gravitas Wins community almost from day one. Ever since I started the Gravitas Win show, you have been there. You have been a Gravitas Win student. Play an active role in the community as well. What do you enjoy about Gravitas Win course and the community, and what have you learned from it?
Firstly, I want to be very much thankful to you for introducing it to us. And initially, I attended few sessions and then I joined the course. I usually belong to the pragmatist school of thinking, which says that test of a good theory is that they must have some problem solving power. Whatever ideas you have shared, they all had energy.
Hmm.
And what I got out of Gravitas Wins courses, we got a very good practical frameworks for translating those ideas into action. And community has been so special to me. I've already shared earlier also, and it's pushing me to grow in the right areas. I'm indebted to the community and to the Gravitas, so it's bringing a lot of positivity around.
Thank you. Uh, Final few questions, Sukhwinder. What's the kindest thing anybody has done for you?
After Almighty, it's our dear parents who have brought us up in such a beautiful way with limited resources at their disposal. And they have built us independent, and
Mm,
we cannot repay.
mm. And what's the definition of living a good life for you?
Yeah. It's those who truly believe in themselves live a holistic life.
Mm. So you're
They're
keeping on going back to that particular thing, right?
the purpose. Yeah.
Uh, know who you are,
Yes.
that purpose,
Yes.
and then be true to that particular purpose.
Yes. Basically, their life is filled with fulfilling relationships,
Mm.
dreams, goals that move them forward. The aim is to move, make progress, to move forward, to adapt and keep evolving.
Now, say for example, you and I are low old, but let's say for example, I am 21, 25, 30 years old. How can I find my purpose?
See, we should understand ourselves first. What are our strengths and weaknesses? Knowing oneself will solve half of the battles.
Mm.
You can win half
Mm.
the battles. Once you know yourself and you are factual about your own strengths and weaknesses, then you can find the way, because it cannot be injected, it has to be brought from within. We should work on ourselves, we should know ourselves very well and be truthful to ourselves.
How did you get this? Did you go through some? Is it because of some spiritual sermon that you had, or is it because of your upbringing in your home, or is it because of some kind of a reading? How did you get into this?
I think it is by upbringing only. Our father has always been very transparent with us. He has
Mm.
put across things, and early in life, we started having those conversations, and that has brought the transparency about being truthful. And he has always admitted whatever mistakes, even if he makes, and this has taught us to be truthful.
Wonderful. Sukhwinder, thank you a lot for sharing your life journey and life lessons. Where can people find you online?
I'm available on LinkedIn. My
Mhm.
ID is Singh Technical, and my name is Sukhwinder Singh Uppal. You can reach out to me there at on Twitter also and Instagram. It's Singh Technical, basically Singh and then Technical. There again, I have a logic.
Sukhwinder, I find you very interesting because you approach things logically, but then you also place a premium on luck. That's one of the things that you have repeatedly said. I find it intriguing that you are able to combine both in your perspective, that logic and the mystery or the luck part of it. And I only hope we will spend quite a bit of a time in the future, and I'm able to understand that even better when I'm moving with you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me, Sukhwinder.
Player was all mine. It was lovely conversing. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the
Thank
opportunity.
you. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. Please share what you liked in our conversation on social media and tag us. Also, check out my executive coaching program, Gravitas Wins. Have life of wins.